day, everyone. I am Chair Mega Etera from BED-2 Section 8. So for today's video, I will discuss two lessons. Lesson 1 is all about living things depend on their environment for basic needs, and the second lesson is all about the beneficial and harmful interactions among living things. So in this video, we will learn about our ecosystem. Now, let's discuss first the lesson 1 and identify the basic needs of humans, plants, and animals. Now, let's define first what is an ecosystem. An ecosystem is made up of both the community of organisms in an area under abiotic surroundings. The Amazon rainforest, including the plants, animals, and abiotic factors such as sunlight, water, soil, and rocks, is an example of an ecosystem. So other ecosystem includes grasslands, wetlands, deserts, and oceans. An environment includes everything, living and non-living, surrounding an organisms. For examples, beach environments, desert environments, forest environments, and Arctic environments. Organism means a living thing. What are the basic needs of living things? Every living organism on Earth needs some basic things to survive. The following are the basic needs of living things. Humans need food, water, shelter, oxygen, space, and appropriate temperatures to live. Other organisms may have the same needs. First basic need is energy. Food is an organism's energy source. Autotroph or producer equals make their own food. Auto is equal to self and troph is equal to feeder. Heterotrophs or consumers cannot make their own food. Hetero means other. Living things need energy for function. Energy is needed to grow, reproduce, move, and to work. Think of what will happen if we stayed for 3 days without food. Next, water. We must have water to survive. Water is also a living environment for many plants and animals. Dissolves more chemicals than any other substance on. Organisms will survive only a few days without water. Next, living space. All organisms need a place to live, obtain food and water, and find shelter. Space on Earth is limited, so organisms must compete. Then, stable internal conditions. Organisms must keep conditions inside their body stable despite environmental changes. Every living organism needs the ideal temperature to survive either on land or in water. Plants need soil, nutrients, sunlight, water, space, air, and appropriate temperature to survive. And animals need food, water, shelter, oxygen, space, and appropriate temperatures. So those are the basic needs that we identify for humans, plants, and animals. Aside from our basic needs, species cannot live alone. All life needs other life to survive. Plants have evolved flowers with traits that promote pollination by particular species. Pollinator species, in turn, have evolved traits that help them obtain pollen or nectar from certain species of flowers. The flowering plants and the pollinators, such as the bird or insect, both benefit from the relationship. This is an example of symbiotic relationship. So, interdependence of living things. All living things depend on their environment to supply with what they need, including food, water, and shelter. Their environment consists of physical factors such as soil, air, and temperature, and also other organisms. Interdependence means needs other organisms in order to survive. So from the word interdependence, so they are not dependent on their own. So example of interdependence is living things that cannot make their own food must eat other organisms for food. Other interactions between living things include symbiotic relationships and competitions for resources. Next is symbiosis. So what is symbiosis relationship? Symbiosis is a close relationship between organisms of different species in which at least one of the organisms benefits. The other organism may also benefit. It may be unaffected by the relationship or it may be harmed by the relationship. So example, look at the picture. The bird in the picture is able to pick out food from the fur of the antelope. The antelope won't eat the bird. In fact, the antelope knowingly lets the bird rest on it. Competition is a relationship between living things that depend on the same resources. The sources may be food, water, or anything else they both need. So just like what is shown in the picture, the two bears are fighting for their food. Why should we protect the environment? Well, we only have one Earth, so let's do right by it. Unfortunately, humans have not been very good stewards of the Earth over the years. To protect the environment and preserve the planet for our children and for future generations, we all need to take proactive steps towards cleaner living habits. Most of the damage to our environment stems from consumption. What we consume, how much we consume, and how often. Whether it's gas, food, clothing, cars, furniture, water, toys, electronics, knickknacks, or other goods, we are all consumers. The key is not to stop consuming, but to start being mindful of our consumption habits and how each purchase or action affects the ecosystem. The good news is that it's often not too difficult, expensive, or inconvenient to become more environmentally friendly. It can even be a fun challenge to implement among your family or coworkers. And though small changes at the individual level may seem trivial, just think how much cleaner the planet would be if everyone adopted even a few of the following behavior modifications. So I have here the 8 ways on protecting and conserving our environment. First, use reusable bags. Plastic grocery type bags that get thrown out end up in landfills or in other parts of the environment. This can suffocate animals who get stuck in them or may mistake them for food. Also, it takes a while for the bags to decompose. Whether you are shopping for food, clothes, or books, use a reusable bag. This cuts down on litter and prevents animals from getting a hold of them. There are even some stores that offer discounts for using reusable bags. These bags are useful for things other than shopping as well. I have heard of people using reusable bags when they move. 2. Print as little as necessary. We have all had that teacher that wanted us to have a copy of every single reading when we come to class, or that professor who wanted a hard copy of the 10-page paper that is due next week. These are fine, but it seems as if they do not understand that using so much paper is detrimental to the environment. What can you do? Ask your teacher if you can bring a laptop or an e-reader to class so that you can download a reading onto that and read it from there. If not, print on both sides of the page to reduce the amount of paper used. If you need to turn in a long paper, ask the professor if it is okay to print on both sides of the page and explain why you're asking. Most teachers care about the environment as well and would be willing to allow you to do so. Third, recycle. Recycling is such a simple thing to do, but so many people don't do it. Many garbage disposal companies offer recycling services. So check with the company you use to see if they can help you get started. It is as simple as getting a bin and putting it out with your trash cans for free. Also, check with your RA to see if recycling options are offered in your dorm. Another way to recycle is to look for recycling cans near trash cans. Instead of throwing recyclables in the trash with your non-recyclables, make a point to take an extra step to locate recycling cans around your campus. Fourth, use reusable beverage containers. Instead of buying individually packaged drinks, consider buying a bulk container of the beverage you want and buying a reusable water bottle. Not only will this help the environment, but it will also help you save money since you are buying a bulk container. Many campuses offer water fountains designed for drinking as well as for refilling reusable water bottles. Make use of these fountains throughout the day when you finish off the initial beverage. Along these lines, many restaurants offer reusable containers for drinks. If you go to a certain place a lot, consider buying one of these containers to help minimize waste. A lot of coffee shops even offer a discount to customers who use a reusable container for their drinks, like Starbucks, as an example, offers a small discount for customers who do this. Fifth, don't throw your notes away. At the end of the semester, students are often stuck with notes they don't need anymore, especially from Gen Ed classes that had little, if anything, to do with their major. The good news is the teachers that teach Gen Ed classes have to keep their material consistent with guidelines from the college or university. This means that students next semester will be learning basically the same material you learned from a class. If you took great notes, ask your teacher to connect you with students in a future class so that you can give them your notes. These notes will help students by being able to read what they are learning in the words of another student. It is beneficial to read things that are worded differently than what the teacher said. You may need to find a student on your own, depending on the teacher's load for the semester. It will feel great to help others taking the same class. You can list your notes on online college boards. While some may be willing to buy the notes at a price, it will feel just as good as giving them your notes for free since you are helping them out. Also, other students' organizations may appreciate notes. At the community college, if you can find anyone to give the notes to, at the very least, recycle the paper you used. 6. Save electricity. Use energy-efficient light bulbs instead of regular bulbs. They last longer, which will save you a bit of money. You can make you turn off lights, the TV, and other appliances when you are not using them. Lower your air conditioning or heat when it's not necessary. This is especially true for between seasons. Open your windows in the early fall or layering your clothes in the early fall. 7. Save water. Water is wasted more frequently than we can see. Turn off the faucet as you are brushing your teeth. Don't turn your shower on until you're ready to get in and wash your hair. Limit your water usage as you wash dishes. Changing old habits will be good for both the environment and your wallet. 8. Avoid taking cars or carpool when possible. Cars are harmful to the environment. Taking public transportation, walking, or riding a bike to class are better options that help the environment and your budget, as well as getting some exercise. If you do need to use your car, Compare schedules and places of residency with those in your classes. You can split the cost of gas and have alternating schedules for the drives when. This is cheaper than everyone driving separately and you'll be closer with friends. So that's the end of my report about lesson 1. So I hope you've learned something, especially in ways in protecting and conserving our environment. Conserving and caring our environment are very important because all the basic needs that we needed is in the environment. We must protect our environment and save lives. Now, it's your time to start doing things that can save our and our planet. Now, let's proceed to lesson 2, the beneficial and harmful interactions among living things. So, I have here a picture of interactions among living organisms. Every organism has a variety of adaptations that are suited to its specific living conditions. Adaptations are either physical, behavioral, or a combination of features that allow organisms to successfully survive in their environments. According to Agrawal et al. 2007 and Recliffs 2008, Brooker et al. 2009, organisms live within an ecological community which is defined as an assemblage of population of at least two different species that interact directly and indirectly within a defined geographic area. Species interactions form the basis for many ecosystem properties and processes such as nutrient cycling and food webs. Ecological interactions can be defined as either intraspecific or interspecific. Intraspecific interactions are those that occur between individuals of the same species, while interspecific interactions occur between two or more species. The interaction between organisms may not be always beneficial to all the interacting counterparts. So I have here a diagram of biological interactions. So there are two interactions, the positive and negative interactions. But first, let's know what are the positive interactions. Positive interactions are the interacting populations help one another. It may be one way or reciprocal. The benefit may be in respect of food, shelter, substratum, or transportation. The positive association may be continuous, transitory, obligate, or facultative. The two interacting partners may be in close contact in such a way that the tissues intermixed with each other, or they may live within a specific area of the other, or attached to its surface. So there are different types of positive population interactions. The following are mutualism. Mutualism is also called as symbiosis. It is a positive type of ecological interaction. Mutualism is a symbiotic association between two organisms in which both the interacting partners are mutually benefited. Mutualism is different from proto-cooperation in the sense that mutualism is obligatory and none of the partners of mutualism can survive individually. One example of mutualism is lichen. Lichens are the symbiotic association between algae and fungi. The body of lichen composed of fungal matrix in which the algal cells are embedded. The fungi provide protection to algal components and also provide moisture and nutrients to them. The algal components, in turn, will supply carbohydrates for fungus. Next positive interaction is commensalism. Commensalism is a positive type of ecological interaction between two species in an ecosystem. In commensalism, the association occurs between members of two different species where one species is benefited, the other is neither benefited nor harmed. Here are the two populations live together without entering into any kind of physical exchange, and one is benefited without any effect on the other. Example of commensalism is climbers and lianas such as Bauhinia, Tenospora, etc., which are rooted in the soil but climbed over large trees. These climbers use other trees as support to get enough sunlight. More than that, the supporting plants do not have any positive or negative effect. So lastly is proto-cooperation. Proto-cooperation is a positive type of population interaction and is also called as non-obligatory mutualism. Proto-cooperation is a less extreme type of population interaction. In proto-cooperation, two species interact favorably with each other, though both of them are able to survive separately. It is a temporary association where both the interacting partners get benefited. It is different from mutualism in the sense that the association is not essential for the survival of any of the species. One example of proto-cooperation is the association between hermit crab and sea anemone. The sea anemone is carried by the crab to fresh feeding sites, and the crab is in turn protected from enemies by sea anemone. So that's for the positive biological interactions in the ecosystem. Next, let's know the negative biological interactions in the ecosystem. Negative interactions is one of the interacting populations is benefited and the other is harmed. In negative interaction, one population may eat members of the other population, compete for foods, or excrete harmful wasters. There are different types of negative population interactions. First, amensalism. Amensalism is a negative type of population interaction. In amensalism, one species is harmed or inhibited, other is neither benefited nor harmed. Some authors prefer to use the term antibiosis for commensalism. Antibiosis is the partial or complete inhibition or death of one organism by another through the production of some substances or environmental conditions as a result of its metabolic pathway. In antibiosis, none of them derives any benefit. The process of antibiosis is common in microbial populations, and the chemical substances produced by microbes for antibiosis are generally called as antibiotics. The example of amensalism is Chlorella vulgaris produce a toxin, which is harmful to other algae. Next is parasitism. Parasitism is a negative type of population interaction. Parasitism belongs to the exploitation category of negative population interactions. In exploitation, one species harms the other by making its direct or indirect use for shelter or food. A parasite is the organism living on or in the body of another organism and deriving food from its tissues. The harmed one is called host and the benefited one is called parasite. A parasite usually takes a host which is usually larger than its body size. Usually, a specialized parasite does not kill the host at least until it has completed its reproductive cycle. So, example of parasitism is microorganisms such as bacteria, virus, fungi, mycoplasma, protozoans, and etc., which cause many diseases in human and other other animals and plants. Next is predation. Predation is a negative type of population interaction, and it belongs to the exploitation category of negative population interactions. In predation, one species kills and feeds on another species. The killer species is called predator, and the one who dead are called prey. The predators are usually larger and powerful than prey. Predation is very important in community dynamics, and it helps to maintain the constancy of number of different trophic levels in the ecosystem and thereby maintain the stability of ecosystem. So, example of predation is lion, tiger, and bear are predators of forest ecosystem. Next negative interaction is cannibalism. Cannibalism is a negative type of interaction of individuals in the same population. In cannibalism, bigger individual of a species kill and feeds on smaller individual of same species. Cannibalism is a natural method of population control in the ecosystem. Lastly is competition. Competition is the association of two or more species. Each species is adversely affected by the presence of other species in respect of food, shelter, space, light, and etc. Competition occurs when individuals attempt to obtain a resource that is inadequate to support the individuals seeking it, or even if the resources are adequate, individuals harm one another in trying to obtain it. The resources in the environment for which the individuals compete include raw materials for life such as water, light, and nutrients, space for occupying, and selection of mates for sexual reproduction. The competition in the ecosystem may be of two types: the intraspecific competition and the interspecific competition. Intraspecific competition, it is the competition occurring between the individuals of the same population. It is also called a scramble competition. Intraspecific competition is an important density-dependent factor regulating population size. It is also responsible for the even distribution of individuals of the species in any ecosystem. While the interspecific competition is the competition occurring between populations of different species whose requirements are common and inadequate in the ecosystem. So it is the competition between populations. Interspecific competition is also called as contest or interference competition. So I have here a table of types of interaction. First is mutualism. The sign of mutualism are both positive. The effect is both species benefit from interaction. Second, commensalism. Positive and zero. One species benefits, one unaffected. For competition, the sign are both negative. Each species affected negatively. For predation, parasitism, and herbivory, the sign are positive and negative. One species benefits, one is disadvantaged. So that's all for my report about Lesson 2, Beneficial and Harmful Interactions Among Living Things. So I hope you've learned something about my discussion for today.